What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about what's going on with this Demon's Souls remake, or are we going to get this game? I just want to kind of go off and talk about everything we kind of know about Blue Point Games, which I will get to that in a second, and what's the future for this Demon's Souls game. Now, Blue Point Games is the makers or the developers of the Shadow of the Colossus remake, a game that released last year, last February, with, very, very high critical and even commercial success. So many people loved this game, and so many people, loved what this game was back in the day as well. This, to me, this was not a game that I played back when I was growing up. I really only played games like Crash, games like Sly Cooper, I really didn't, and Pokemon maybe. I didn't really venture too far out until I got a Wii and PS3. I'm kind of young in terms of the covering stuff of games, and when I first got into games, I was a bit older than most, I think, when they first started jumping into games. So Shadow of the Colossus was not a game that I had originally played. It was a game that I bought when the PS3 remaster collection came out with Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, obviously getting us ready for The Last Guardian, which was then delayed to Eternity and Beyond and came out on the PS4, but I never played it. So Shadow of the Colossus was the first time last year that I actually played this game, and it's amazing, right? And you could say, Alex, you're just rambling and you're really going nowhere. Well, no. This game was a fantastic game, and it solidified a trend that has, again, continued to happen with or without Blue Point Games of these remakes. I mean, the remakes in the gaming industry, we got them. We got them back in the PS3 with the remasters, right? There were so many games that were getting remastered where early on in the last generation, we got a lot of these games that were just getting ported, right? PS2 games, Xbox games getting ported, Xbox 360 games even getting ported, or Xbox games getting ported. There were so many of these ports, and then people came up with the idea, well, let's remaster, let's make it just a bit nicer looking, right? And then every game known to man got that treatment, at least every game that they had assumed people would want or kind of deserved that treatment got that treatment. Fast forward to the current generation of consoles, and now remakes have really, over the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 years, have really became a thing, and I think really the Crash Bandicoot, Crash Insane Trilogy is what started a large majority of this. I mean, this was a game that was so popular back in the day, and Activision took a risk and said, you know what, we want to see what people think of this game. We're going to save the Bandicoot, and in terms of the people of the internet, we saved the Bandicoot. And they pushed it along, and we got this remaster, or remake, complete remake from the ground up. Looks amazing, feels a little bit different, but still captures what made it so special back in the day. And since then, I mean, we've gotten a ton of remakes all across the board, not Sony even exclusive, but just across the board, with games like, again, Crash, Spyro, Crash the team racing game. We got Shadow of the Colossus, but Blue Point Games is a studio that is a Sony partnered studio. I do not believe they are Sony owned, but they are responsible, again, for Shadow of the Colossus, and they've been rumored to be working on a brand new remake. Now, I think they're a talented studio, and I think they one day could make their own game, from scratch, actually build your own game. And that's not taking away from them that they can only do remakes, because I don't think they can just only do remakes. They are very, very talented, but they know what they're doing. And Shadow of the Colossus, looking at it, really is, I think, one of the better remakes that are done, and Sony has themselves something in Blue Point Studios. And again, so Shadow of the Colossus was a major success, and they moved on to another rumored Sony exclusive franchise, and one that they want to take in a newer direction and give whatever the quote is, like, brand new life to. Now, a lot of people have majorly speculated that this is Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls, again, was a game made from software back on the PS3, and this was before Sony, and Sony's made this mistake multiple times, where they have a franchise, where they have a studio, and they don't necessarily know what they have in it until it's too late. They obviously have the Dark Souls formula back then, and they didn't really know what to do with it, and they let From Software slip away and make Demon's Souls. Now, they eventually came back to obviously make Bloodborne, and now we're kind of caught in the exact same thing, where Bloodborne 2 should happen. Sony owns the IP, Sony should want a Bloodborne 2 to happen, but From Software is not really one, besides the Demon's Souls franchise, to make sequels to their games. They obviously make a lot of different games. Sekiro, obviously they're making the game with George R.R. Martin, so they're doing a lot of different things, so they let that go away. But Demon Souls really was the start of the Dark Souls formula. You know, what made Dark Souls, what made even Bloodborne so popular, and Sekiro to an extent, but Sekiro is a pretty different game from that. The insane difficulty, the game that just obviously beats you down to death, and you have to overcome, and you just have to be better than it. But the grueling, just hard difficulty of these games is really what was born in Demon Souls. And Sony has themselves something very special with Demon Souls. Now, technically, they own that IP too. Demon Souls is theirs. They could make a Demon Souls 2 one day, but again, like, you know, it's kind of Dark Souls anyway. Would you want somebody besides From Software doing it? Same thing with Bloodborne. You could make a Bloodborne 2, but do you want some studio besides the ones who made it? Do you want them to do it? It's a tough decision. However, remaking the game from the ground up, but keeping the core mechanics, keeping what made it so special back in the day, that's what Bluepoint does, and that's what these remakes, you know, that's what they're all about, is doing those things. And it's heavily speculated that is this game. The question is, what's going on with it? You know, when are we going to get an announcement? I feel like Sony has a lot hidden away, a lot stored up that they just do, you know. And now here's the thing. When I'm recording this in mid-June. I know there's been a lot of rumors like The Last of Us Part 2. I just don't want to say anything that's going to be super outdated because, you know, it could change between the time that I'm recording this video and the video is going up. But as of right now, there's only the rumors that The Last of Us is coming out in February. It's not confirmed. But the general premise I think I'm trying to get through to you guys is we need a Sony State of Play. We needed it back during E3, I thought, and I made a video talking about it. I also talked afterwards how, you know, basically Sony actually didn't need to do anything in that E3. Companies embarrassed themselves and showed that they really didn't need to be there in the first place. Sony didn't need to have their own convention or their own, you know, live stream to take away the thunder of Microsoft, because they took away their own thunder. So I think they were fine there. However, from the general just like appeasement category, I really want to know about these games. I want to know about The Last of Us. I want to see Ghost of Tsushima and see if that really will be a PS4 game. I want to see these hidden things that they're, and we know that people are making games, right? It was just revealed today, again, in terms of I'm recording it, the God of War, you know, Sony Santa Monica, obviously we knew they were making God of War 2, but they are not being very secretive with God of War 2, right? They clearly want people to know that that game is being worked on. So the Sony's weird. They're secretive with some things and non-secretive with others, but Demon Souls is the thing, again, has been heavily rumored, even like leaked in a way where people know that this is the game that they're making, and this is a nice little thing that you can really release to the public eventually, you know, and kind of build your portfolio. Obviously, you have games in 2020 that we now know. Even 2019, we have Death Stranding, right? That makes Sony's fall. Then we have in the spring, you know, assumingly, The Last of Us Part 2. We also have Ghost of Tsushima, which you gotta think eventually comes out. I think they probably wanted to come out also in the first half of next year, and then have the fall of 2020 just be all these new games, right? The launch day exclusives, that kind of stuff. But even having 2 exclusives for 6 months to Microsoft, they may consider that a success, especially if they're as good as what The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima can be. But you probably want to pad it with some other games, and Sony does that quite well. Even this year with games like Days Gone, which was not the, you know, the massive success that, say, Uncharted or a Last of Us or a God of War or a Horizon even. It didn't reach those kind of numbers, but it was a very successful, very solid game. They also had Dreams enter that early access, so they're finally getting Dreams out. So they have those secondary titles that they pad on. Demon Souls, a Demon Souls remake, is definitely one that will stand out. I think a lot of people will support it. I think a lot of people will play it, and I'll be the first one to say that I will play it too. I have never been one that can jump into any of these games. Demon Souls, I own that. I own the PlayStation, the greatest hits one, you know, because again, I was kind of late to jumping on with the PlayStation back when the PS3, you know, towards the end of its life cycle, how they had all those games that were the greatest hits. I bought Demon Souls on that. I played it. I couldn't play much of it. I'm just not very good at it, and I, you know, jumped out of it. Dark Souls, I've played some of them. I haven't played all of them, but then I also got the Dark Souls remaster when it came out last year. I've played Bloodborne. I own Bloodborne. I bought it day one. Sekiro, I'm waiting for it to drop in sale, you know, in like a really good like Black Friday deal in order to get it. So I'm very on and off with From Software games in general, but I will be the first one to tell you that I will buy Demon's Souls. If a Demon's Souls remake comes out, it's $40, sign me up. I'll play it. I think it's maybe the easiest of those 4 games, Dark Souls 1 through 3 and Demon's Souls. I feel like it's the easiest. Maybe that's completely untrue, but I would jump in. I would play it. And it's, again, a game that I think gives like goodwill. It's a game that's like, okay, this was a classic. This is something that people definitely bought back in the day. This obviously is what sparked Dark Souls coming out, and so many people love Dark Souls, and this was the game that kind of started it all. So to remake it, to bring it back to life, because then there can be talks of, well, will we get a Demon's Souls 2? You also spin those kind of things, and you build interests of your own IP. So this is a really smart idea. I think this is a game that needs to happen, and I feel like it is going to happen. It's just when are they going to announce it? Again, I think they need a Sony State of Play. I think they need a State of Play by the end of this summer, talking about some of these games and announcing a few new ones for us to get excited about and look forward to for 2020. Because I don't think this is a 2019 game. I really think it's a 2020 game, hopefully before PS5 comes out, but they could make this a PS5 game. It's very, very possible. It's only been a year since Shadow of the Colossus, so you do have to give them some time to remake their next game. Although you're not building a brand new game, you are basically building a game from the ground up and redoing it, right? And you see that from Final Fantasy VII's remake. Yes, it's not a new game, but I mean, it really actually is. They're really putting a lot of work into it. So I think it's the same thing with Demon's Souls. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about all this? When do you think we're going to get an announcement? Is this the game you truly think Bluepoint is making? And when do you think this game is going to release? Let me know all those things in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And I appreciate, as always, you guys watching these videos, and I hope to see you on the next one.